Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a knife video, and today I want to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart. I've got a couple of knives here on the table that represent to me fantastic EDC knives. This is the Civivi Primitrox. This is the Spyderco Manix 2 Lockback. This is the Quiet Carry Drift LC. All of these are EDC perfection. These are great knives. You know, there's something out there to suit every taste, every preference, every need for an EDC style knife. These are easily recommended. Okay, but sometimes for people who just want to go a little bit above and beyond, which many knife people do. Okay, many knife people want to be just a little more prepared, just a little more ready for anything than the average Joe. And for those people, we may want something that's a sort of go anywhere, do anything type of knife. And if you've been watching the YouTube shorts, this is the video that all those shorts came out of. And so let's go ahead and bring in some knives that I want to just run through. I'm going to call this like the top 10 go anywhere, do anything knives, but really it's probably like the top however many knives I have here. Okay, so let's go ahead and start putting these out on the table. I want to kind of get them all in frame so you can have a little look, a little survey of the options that I want to talk about. Yes, cold steel is wildly overrepresented here because of all the knife companies. I just think cold steel does the best job of offering knives that are, absolute confidence inspiring tanks that, if you've got it in your pocket, you really feel like you could just tackle the world if you needed to. Okay, I don't think I can fit everything in frame, but that's the best I can. That's the best I can pull off to try and get them all in here. And so let's go ahead and work our way through a number of these. I've tried to categorize them in a couple of different ways, and I'll have a brief comment about each one, but this is not going to be like a full review or anything like that. But I hope to share enough with you about each of these that you'll know which one is most appropriate for your particular situation. Okay, let's start off with a classic. This is the Cold Steel Recon 1, probably one of the best all-around folders of all time. And this also happens to be the knife that got me interested in knives. I was watching, anyway, it doesn't matter. I was watching a TV show, and like the Navy SEAL on the show had a Recon 1, and you know how it is when you're young. It's like, man, Navy SEALs have that, and it just blew me away. Anyway, Recon 1, still a fantastic hard use, go anywhere, do anything type of knife that if you've got in your pocket, you really are just about ready for anything the world could throw at you. Now, I'm going to kind of go back and forth in terms of price point. So I do want to throw an honorable mention, or I do want to throw a knife out there that really does a great job. This is the Rat Model 1, and it is, very affordable, very well put together, a little bit thicker and a little bit heavier than most of the liner locks that we see out there these days. And because of that, this is a knife that inspires a lot of confidence. Yes, it's also a knife that has a little rust on it. That's because I've carried this thing for years, and I've done all kinds of crazy stuff with it. It has never yet let me down, and so Rat Model 1, great option. Okay, if you want to spend a little more than a Rat Model 1, not much more. In fact, in some cases, probably maybe even less if you really look around. A Cold Steel Voyager is probably the quintessential budget hard use folder. Like there's nothing out there that comes close if you're going to consider actual toughness, durability, and usability. Okay, there are lots of budget knives out there, tons. Like the list could go on and on, but very few budget knives are going to be as capable as the Voyager. This happens to be the XL. But the standard 4-inch size Voyager is an absolute home run that doesn't cost a lot of money, and it would literally, if I had to, I don't know, equip every, let's say I needed a good budget option to put in every soldier's pocket or something like that, or every, I don't know, outdoor survivalist or whatever. Like I'm trying to I'm trying to put a knife in the pocket of 200 people, and I want to do it on a budget. I think you'd be hard pressed to do better than a Cold Steel Voyager. Absolute tank of a knife that doesn't cost a whole lot of money. All right, let's go ahead and look at something a little more pricey. This is the Microtech Stitch, and Microtech does have a similar approach to Cold Steel, where they want to make knives that really, really are capable, hard use tools, and they generally do a pretty good job. So there are a number of other options we could put out there, but I definitely like the Ramlock. I like the fluted G10 on this particular one because of the grip it gives. There are other options of the Stitch, and I think most of them are going to be pretty capable and belong on this list. All right, let's go to one of my favorites. This would be near the top of my list if it was a knife. If I knew I was really going to need a fantastic hard use knife, this 8010 strikes a great balance. It's not as big as the Formax, okay? It's a little more carryable, but it's bigger than a lot of knives, okay? So understand that. It's big, and the size that you're getting with the 8010 actually becomes a feature, okay? Because it is so thick and rounded that this feels like a lazy boy for your hand. It is so comfortable. And if I knew that I was going to have to do a lot of really hard cutting, this would be on the very, very, very shortest of short lists for sort of a hard use, tactical-ish, outdoor-ish folding knife. All right, let's switch it up again. I know there's a lot of Cold Steel, so I'm trying to go Cold Steel something else, Cold Steel something else. Here we have the Spyderco Military. I love this knife. It's an absolute classic. It's the knife that, of course, we all owe the existence of the paramilitary to, which is essentially a smaller version of this. And now we've come full circle. The military borrowed a lot of design. The paramilitary borrowed a lot of design cues from the original military, and now the military has borrowed the compression lock from the Para 2. And so absolutely great knife. If I've got this in my pocket, I'm pretty sure that most situations that could possibly arrive where I need a good cutting tool, I'm going to be set, okay? I'm going to be ready to go. Let's go to another Cold Steel. This is the Formax. Now, the Formax has a special place here in this video because while I'm holding the expensive version, there's a budget version of the Formax Scout, which is a very, very close competitor to the Voyager. Okay, it gets it's pretty well as good. This is quite big. So it's not for the faint of heart. You got to have some big pockets. If you're a lightweight backpacker or something, this is probably not the knife for you. But if you want a fairly substantial knife that is crazily, crazily overbuilt, and in the truest sense of the word, still comfortable in hand, very, very capable. This is such a fantastic knife. And by the way, lots of Andrew Demco designs here. And so let's stick with the Andrew Demco design theme. We've got the 8010, the Formax, and now the 8015. This is great for a couple of reasons. One, the Scorpion lock is fantastic. It makes this knife so, so compelling. This is one of my favorite Cold Steels of all time. It's one of my favorite Andrew Demco designs of all time. I would also happily, more than happily, put an 8020 on this list with the shark lock, but I would want an 8020S maybe. Probably could still do it. But anyway, they've got the new 8020s that are available, pretty widely made in Italy. Great knife. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I know that's a total aside from my discussion, but it would certainly belong on this list. Back to our 8015. Again, feels really, really great in hand. Very strong, very capable. This is a knife that I would be happy to have if I got in a situation where I really, really needed a knife. Okay, while we're talking about that, we've gone back and forth between budgets. Here is, of course, one of the all-time classic hard use knives. This is the Chris Reeve knives in Cosi. This happens to be the Tanto. We could put, the 31 could probably be on this list. The Umnumzon could definitely be on this list. But out of all those, this one really, really just connects with me. I love the simplicity of this. I love the design, the internals. The difference between this and a lot of other claimed hard use knives is the components are actually hard use. There are a ton of titanium frame locks out there where in order to make it hard use, we make the scales thick, we make the blade stock thick, but then we do the exact same thing for the pivot and the stop pin and everything else that we've done all the time. And it's really the hardware that makes a hard use knife. And so this is a great option if you want a knife that can really take a beating and keep on ticking. Now, if you want something equally sort of classy and clean that's very versatile in terms of wear this with business casual, wear it with a pair of khakis outside, wear it in just about any outfit you could think of, this is going to work. It's also a little thinner than most of the knives we put on the list. But yeah, this is the Code 4, again from Cold Steel. Nice and slim, nice and clean on the design, but every bit as tough as most of the other knives that we have shown on this list. All right, let's go and take a look at a Benchmade. There's a couple of Benchmades we could probably put here. I've got the Crooked River. The Adamas certainly would belong on this list. The Contigo would belong on this list. The Turret, I think, would belong on this list as well. You don't hear a lot about the Benchmade Turret, but that's a pretty compelling option here as well. In my case, I've got the Crooked River, which takes its styling from sort of a Buck 110 style hunting folder and is absolutely beautiful in that regard, but is also very capable. The axis lock is nice and strong. We've got a washer here, which is great. By the way, the Microtechs are the only knives on the table here that have bearings. Generally, I'm going to want to avoid bearings, with the exception of Pete's discussion where he took the Spyderco amalgam and got it all messy and dirty and it still functioned. Certainly it will, and lots of them will as well. But there is the potential for getting dirt and grime into those bearings. Back to our list. Here we have the American Lawman. This is the smallest knife on my list here, and the American Lawman is great because it can it's a little smaller, it's a little slimmer. I wouldn't want to do the same kind of hard, heavy-duty cutting that I would want to do with the AD10, but the toughness is absolutely there, and this can get a lot of really hard work done. It's just a little bit slimmer and lighter. So if weight is an issue, if you're like an ultralight backpacker, or if you're one of those guys who likes to do some trail running or mountain biking or something where the knife in your pocket is going to be noticeable if it's not kind of thinner, this could be a great option. And then finally, last but not least, actually I do have another honorable mention that I want to throw in here, but the Microtech MSI is an absolute win. This has got to be the best, considering a broad range of preferences and needs, this is probably the best thing the Microtech has ever done. I personally like the styling of the stitch a little bit better, but this is almost a perfect folding knife. The ram lock is super strong. Look at the blade stock on this. When we talk about a knife that can do anything, you don't want to be worrying about breaking your blade. The blade stock on this, look how thick it carries right out to the tip. Kind of puts me in mind of the Benchmade Contigo. I wish I still had a Contigo. I have actually looked around the secondary a bit to see if I could get my hands on one just for a side-by-side comparison, but I haven't found one yet. I may still do that in the future. But again, Microtech MSI, great knife. Okay, now I want to put in an honorable mention. What if I'm the type of guy who doesn't want to carry something like this around? I like to carry something a little classier, a little more stylistic. Maybe I'm a custom knife guy. I like carrying something that's a little bit different. I wouldn't put this on this hard use knife list. This is the Freeman Knives Tuya, but let's say I want to carry something like this. I can throw in my pack or in my car or somewhere else a Mora. All right, This doesn't cost anything, and if I've got one of these kind of hanging around somewhere, it gives me the option of having a really, really effective tool. And you can actually see, notice how the back of this is all beat up. This is because um, I carried this one day when I was doing some maintenance work on a trail, and I was using this. I'd put this on a branch and I'd pound it through the branch that I wanted to cut, and it just did a great job. Like, it's essentially batoning, but doing a cross cut instead of with the grain. And I did that for hours, and this knife is still perfect, right? There's absolutely no problem. Um, and so I wanted to throw the Mora in there as an alternative. Maybe all of these knives are too big for you, they're too heavy, they're too aggressive looking, whatever the case may be. You want to carry like a Spyderco Dragonfly most of the time. That's great. Take a Mora and throw it in your backpack, throw it in your office bag, throw it in your truck, or buy 4 or 5 and throw one in all of those locations, and you kind of have a good hard use option available whenever needed. All right, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check those channel sponsors. We will talk to you soon.